We just posted a video talking about all the major reviews for Splatoon Raiders, but we also got something else special from Nintendo, and that is a new developer interview. Now, sometimes they do this for their bigger first-party games. Right before they come out, they did it with Donkey Kong Bonanza. That's the last one I actually actively remember. So this is a really cool way to dive into the development of this game, and there's actually some really cool information here, including maybe even some hints as to what's happening with Splatoon 4, and what this game actually could have looked like in the beginning, with even some development videos. Real quick though, we are just about 4,000 subscribers away from reaching our goal of 400k. You guys can make that happen right now by leaving a like and subscribing. Let's see how many people we can get to like and subscribe on today's video. Thank you so much. There's a lot of stuff planned for the 400k special videos, so let's get there as quickly as possible. Thank you guys, and on to the video. So I will link the entire developer interview down below, but I'm just going to give you guys kind of the major plot points that I read through these. So starting off, the reporter asked, after Splatoon 3, I would have expected the next release to be Splatoon 4, but instead it turned out to be a spin-off. What led to that decision? And Nue, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, states, we've been going full speed ahead for over 11 years since the series launch, developing and updating 3 titles along the way. We thought it might be interesting to create something with a slightly different approach to gameplay, where you can really savor the action on your own. Splatoon isn't just about competitive play, it also includes cooperative modes like Salmon Run and a single-player story mode. So one of our motivations for developing this game was our desire to create a new entry point into the series by releasing these non-competitive elements, not just as a secondary feature, but as a standalone spin-off. That said, we will continue to develop competitive gameplay going forward. That's why we developed this game as a spin-off and not a Splatoon 4. So yeah, that's kind of just like a hush-hush way of saying, yeah, don't worry, your competitive stuff with Splatoon 4 is coming, but we wanted to do this first because this was like a nice casual wait until Splatoon 4. So like, yeah, I mean, come on, why wouldn't it be happening? It's like one of the biggest Nintendo things in Japan right now. So yeah, Splatoon 4 is going to be happening, and probably within the next couple of years, I would assume. Now, Salmon Run as a whole was going to be a whole lot different. The interviewer states, Salmon Run is a 4-player co-op mode, and even then, things can get pretty busy, right? How would that work in single player? Ito said, yes, like you said, Salmonids and Salmon Run are designed with 4-player co-op in mind, so dealing with them alone would be extremely difficult. So the first thing we tried was building gameplay around placing traps. The idea was to place traps all over the place and to fight alongside them. There's some development footage from that time. Now, I'll show this here in a second. The interviewer says, the traps are being triggered automatically, so it's like a base defense game. And they respond, yes, exactly. At first, it was very much like a base defense game. We created a prototype where you place lots of traps and deal with waves of incoming Salmonids. However, the more we explored, the more it felt like you were just building a fortress with lots of traps, then watching it play out. It didn't really feel like a Splatoon game to us. The interviewer says, right, so when the gameplay was centered around placing traps, it lost its Splatoon-ness. And Ito states that's right. In Splatoon games, you perform loads of different actions within a short period of time. Fighting enemies, inking the ground, changing in and out of squid form, jumping from one place to another, and so on. We think the intensity of the action is one of the game's key strengths. But when the core gameplay shifts to building a fortress and fighting off enemies, it becomes difficult to make the most out of that strength. So yeah, it looks like originally Salmon Run was going to be planned to be some type of base or tower defense mode where you place a bunch of traps, in a strategic way in order to defend your base, and you could go around and shoot them and help defend as well, which actually still probably would have been pretty cool to see. You can see all the Salmonid follow up in one straight line like those, mobile games that you normally see with tower defense games and stuff. This also kind of reminded me of things like Star Fox Guard from Star Fox Zero, or maybe something like Fortnite, where it used to be just mainly save the world. So yeah, they were going a completely different direction, but they said they wanted the action focus to be there, and that just wasn't there as you sit there and slowly wait for enemies. I think it's always funny to see those little placeholder assets used for these videos. They're just like splatter shots sitting on the ground firing by themselves, which is just so funny. Now here's another video they give us where at first they were going to use golden eggs again like you do in Salmon Run, where you collect the eggs and put them back in a bin, but they wanted something a little bit different, more unique, and this is where you can also see they decided to add the gadget system. As you can see, there's like these placeholder just spheres circling the player here as probably those like little defensive drones that you have in the actual game. I don't know the names of the gadgets yet. The game's not out. But there's also one where there's just a seagull that spawns above their head and shoots like 3 pillars of ink at the enemy, which is hilarious. We then move on where the interviewer asks, with so many things happening at once, didn't that make design and sound creation a bit challenging? Sonoyama stated, it definitely did. By the time I got my hands on it, the gameplay direction was already somewhat fixed, but the difficulty level was off the charts. So it seems like there was an extremely difficult version of this game where they just threw so many enemies on a stage at once, and yeah, it shows that you can really ramp up the difficulty with something like this, and according to the reviews, it really does in the end and post-game. Here we have some pictures of some concept art of the gadgets. It's really hard to tell from these images, but I'm just going to read to you also some things they were talking about with the golden eggs. Ito states, we considered a lot of ideas and did a lot of experimenting, but we felt that it would put greater focus on the game's intense gadget-focused action if we removed the element of bringing back golden eggs to the container. However, we felt it would be more interesting for players if they had a reason to move around, so we kept the part where you collect the golden eggs, but removed the need to take them back to the container. By tweaking the objectives like this, we narrowed down the gadgets to those that keep the focus on defeating enemies. I do like some of this stuff because it looks like stuff that actually could have been used in a more ambitious like story mode. Like there's one that actually gives the Inkling a glider. Could you imagine a more open area where you get to explore using a glider, kind of like Breath of the Wild? There's also one that looks like you blast off with a rocket on your back, or one where you ride some type of robo sprinkler or vacuum cleaner around the ground. There's some really cool stuff here. Next, we get to start to learn more about the world and its characters. Ito states the game takes place on the Spiralite Islands, a group of uninhabited islands. Right from the start, we didn't really consider any other options besides islands. Since this is a spin-off title and differs from the previous entries in the series up to Splatoon 3, we thought it would be best for the setting to be remote from those two geographically. Islands seemed like a natural choice. This also aligned with the gameplay really well. The island setting worked well in lots of ways. For example, simple gadgets and weapons can be customized and upgraded using things that have washed ashore. Now this is something that I thought was pretty interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, really wanted to see maybe Splatoon 4 go in this direction, being in a separate island or a separate area that's completely different from the first 3 games, taking us just to some completely different place. And with Splatoon 3 feeling like a trilogy that wrapped up, I do wonder, with us going into maybe a new trilogy or a new set of games with new story, could they also do the same thing, taking us to a completely different location that just feels completely different, like another grouping of islands that is home to another group of Inklings and Octolings or something? I think that would be really cool, so I'm hoping they do something like this again in the future, but really dive into those tropical island vibes, because it doesn't really come off too much in this game. Most of the biomes look kind of desolate, open, and destroyed ruins, and this is for a reason, because we're about to get into that now. Now this image is apparently a concept that they were going to go with. They even made all of these assets and had this pretty much ready to go. To me, this looks absolutely fantastic. I love everything about this. An old water park? I mean, come on, man. But apparently it didn't make the final version for a bunch of reasons, and here's why. The interviewer states, you describe the islands as uninhabited, but it actually has a bright, refreshing feel. The salmonids playing with swim rings also give it a cute touch. Sonoyama states, yeah, we felt it had turned out nicely and thought implementing that in the game could be fun, but it just doesn't work at all. The interviewer states, oh really? I thought it would make for a fun game. And Sonoyama states, somehow, with this setting, it started to feel like we were unfairly picking on the salmonids, who were simply going about their lives happily on the island, and it became a bit difficult to accept emotionally. Yeah. On top of that, it felt like we were attacking the salmonids and taking their cherished treasures by force and then basking in our spoils. The interviewer states, when you put it that way, it does seem a bit unfair to the salmonids. Sonoyama states, I still remember the feedback we received from team members about a scene where the salmonids looked like they were chatting. Maybe because the salmonids were depicted in a way that made some people sympathize with them as living creatures, but without any prior discussion, everyone who played the prototype kept saying, poor salmonids. We thought we needed to do something about that feedback, which prompted us to specifically rethink the visual direction. However, development had already progressed at a certain point. We were in a phase where we really couldn't change things like the lineup of Salmonid or the overall characteristics of the terrain, so we thought about what we could do within that scope. Tamura stated even when it came to the background music, when we were creating it based on the resort-like concept art, it had an adventurous and friendly vibe that only added to the feeling that we were going out of our way to attack these cute, innocent creatures. We started to doubt if we were headed in the right direction, and the motive for progressing through the game became unclear. Sonoyama stated, so we made a major shift, dramatically changing the design direction with the key concept of I've wound up in an outlandish environment. I don't like this at all, and you could even hear from the developer, he seemed to be a little confused because this looks awesome. I know it might feel strange that we're killing Salmonid who are just having fun at this beach, but they could have come up with a reason, you know what I mean? I know they were too far in development to really change anything like that, but they could have just easily just made the Salmonid robots or something. Maybe they're like robot Salmonid and we gotta find out what happened to the real Salmonid or something like that, and they could have even tied that into the story. I think having all these shrubs and trees and, you know, these really cool looking water slides and stuff could have been really cool and brighten up the environment, because now it just feels dull and boring and isolated, and I get that helps its overall theme, but it doesn't make gameplay feel that much fun. It feels like they actually were going for something that I was hoping in the very beginning was something that's more of a upbeat action adventure, you know, true adventure, a journey for your character where you know, go around and do some fun things in some cool looking areas, but now it's just kind of like an isolated going around taking out Salmonid. I don't know, I feel like the idea that they had at first was right on beat with what I've been thinking for this game. Now it does seem like they're going to keep a lot of those assets and everything, they just changed them to make them look, you know, and fit the theme a lot better, but from so far what we've seen, nothing looks anywhere near that image of the water park, unless there's a world that Nintendo's been hiding that's just one big abandoned water park that we get to explore. I haven't seen anything like that yet, besides the concept art having some water slides tucked beneath a waterfall in the back of a cave, almost like a background thing that you wouldn't even notice. I really hope there's a whole stage where we go through this water park and maybe even some of the slides and stuff, because that's just so cool, man. Sometimes I think it's best for things just to be more fun than it is making sense, but yeah, I just look at this and like, yes, this is what I've wanted. Sonoyama states, although we have shifted direction, development was already quite far along, with major elements like the gameplay and the terrain already in place, so we kept features like the water slide scene in the initial concept art, but reworked them to look broken and dilapidated and added rust throughout the environment. Now, so hopefully there is still a whole water park like stage. If you look at that image, it literally looks like we're going to walk towards and in through the water park. There's even like a guided area to show you that you're going into the water park. So I just want to go explore a water park. I think it'd be so cool. I don't care if they change it up a little bit and, you know, add some rust and some moss and stuff, but like, please, I mean, this looks too cool. Now we get to hear a little bit about the music, where Tamura states, of course, there are also plenty of dungeons where you can hear music in the style of the classic Salmon Run tracks. In Salmon Run, the music is played by a Salmonid band known as Omega 3, and in this game, a new Salmonid band, sort of like a distant relative of Omega 3, plays music that boosts the Salmonid's morale, where this new band is known as DHA. Here's some concept art of the Salmonid slowly becoming more and more corrupt by the salt as you go further on into the game, into the later levels, so some of this might actually come into fruition into the game, like that later version, which I don't think we've seen in any trailer so far. Ito states, as you play through the game, you'll collect items called Briny Scrolls, which include snippets of background info about Deep Cut. Whether or not you play Splatoon 3, we think these give everyone a chance to appreciate Deep Cut's charm on a deeper level. Now, I hope these scrolls are more than just deep cut information. Like, I'm glad that we're learning more about them and stuff, but I want to learn more about the Salmonid, if anything. Like, maybe more lore about these islands, about the Salmonid, maybe about the past again with the humans. Like, that's normally what the Sunken Scrolls give us. So hopefully these Briny Scrolls aren't just nothingness and just stupid facts about, you know, deep cut, because we need more than that. Now, they also give us some concepts with the characters and what they were going to look like. I'm not sure if these are just completely different, you know, versions of what Deep Cut could have looked like even in Splatoon 3, or these like outfits they could have had for Splatoon Raiders. But I do kind of wish they had some different outfits, because I don't think they have so far for Raiders, unless I missed something. They look pretty much like they do in Splatoon 3. The interviewer states, "It sounds like Splatoon veterans and newcomers alike will be able to enjoy this game in their own ways. To wrap things up, could each of you say a few words to the players who are looking forward to this game?" Tamura states, "We really focused on how this game feels and responds, carefully crafting both the sound effects and the sound design to ensure the ultimate multitasker experience feels satisfying. We're not only fine-tuning the sound effect, but also the overall audio design in great detail. So we hope you'll give it a listen. As for the background music, I ended up talking mostly about the salmonid side of things earlier, but of course we have plenty of new deep cut tracks as well, so please check those out too." And the last one that Inoue says is one that actually got me at the heartstrings, man, because they state, "The protagonist of the original Splatoon game was portrayed as a teenager, and now some of the people who were teenagers when they first played it have joined the development team and worked on this new game alongside us. It really makes me feel like this series has grown alongside its players more than I ever expected." And that's so freaking cool, man, because that's me. I grew up playing Splatoon early, like literally during that demo test fire for Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, and spent countless weekends playing Splatfest, just holding my Wii U gamepad, sitting on the floor because I had to also plug it in because the gamepad had no freaking battery. But man, it takes me back, man, and just hearing that there were so many teenagers that played this game at one time and now joined the dev team is so cool, dude. But yeah, there's your information on Splatoon Raiders. What'd you think about this developer interview? Did it also kind of make you sad that we didn't see that really cool jazzed up kind of water park with the water slides and stuff? Hopefully there is a game in this world. I mean, all the reviewers said that they were only allowed to show the first third of the game, so there's maybe some wacky worlds and stuff that we just haven't even seen yet. If you remember correctly, the Donkey Kong Bonanza developer interview actually showed off the food layer as a concept art, and we were all like, man, how did this not make it in the game? And it actually ended up being the second to last world in the game, something like that. So yeah, we could be in a similar situation. Maybe the whole final boss is taking place in the middle of a water park. Who knows? But only time will tell. The game is out in literally just a day and a half now. So make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Splatoon Raiders and Nintendo in general. And like always, I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. See you guys.